You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
I'm back. Rodriguez for Black and White Sports. Yesterday, I made a video talking about Michele Tafoya and her possibly being shadow banned from NBC. She's a sideline reporter, has been for years, that once did ESPN Monday Night Football, and then, of course, went over to the NFL's flagship weekly broadcast, which is on NBC, Sunday Night Football with Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth. Well, yesterday, I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast, and he brought up the fact that Michele Tafoya has been interestingly absent from Sunday Night Football. And he talked about the fact that there were some conspiracy theories going around out there involving the fact that she possibly had been removed from air because of the comment she made when she was in the conservative seat on The View. They brought up Colin Kaepernick. It was pretty obvious that she ruffled some feathers on The View, Whoopi Goldberg, some of their other hosts that I don't even know the name of, because she said, look, Colin Kaepernick, point of fact, has gained a lot since he left the NFL. Talking about Netflix, talking about deals with Nike. He's made a hell of a lot of money. And the fact that he actually missed a NFL tryout. He moved the tryout, and speculation was he didn't bother to tell any of the NFL teams. Now, the host didn't like that. Very obvious the host didn't like that. And now it looks like as if her employer, and who knows, maybe the NFL had an influence here, that they didn't like that. Because word came out yesterday evening that Michele Tafoya is in fact leaving as a sideline reporter for the NFL. Boy, it's funny how convenient all of a sudden that came out to be. Michele Tafoya's NBC role changing after Kaepernick remarks on The View. That's a report. It's by way of the New York Post again, Andrew Marchand. Michele Tafoya will no longer be the sideline reporter for NBC's Sunday Night Football after this season, according to a report. NBC's coverage of the upcoming Super Bowl in February is expected to be her final appearance on the sideline for the network, the New York Post reported. Her role afterward remains unclear. The apparent decision comes weeks after Tafoya was criticized for making comments about former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick during her appearance on ABC's The View. Tafoya returned to NBC for a few games after The View, but has been missing from NBC's NFL coverage since Thanksgiving night's game between the Bills and the Saints. Her absence was described by NBC as, quote, bye weeks, as speculation swirled that something might be amiss between the relationship of Tafoya and the network. Sports analyst Bill Simmons drew attention to Tafoya's prolonged absence earlier this week on his podcast. Quote, she was in the conservative seat, Simmons said about Tafoya and the View appearance. Then a couple of weeks later, all of a sudden, just on a bye from NBC, taking a break. Tafoya, 56, a native of California, has been with NBC for about a decade after stints with CBS and ABC/ESPN. She is a winner of 5 Emmys for sports reporting. On November 3rd, she and the co-host of The View had a debate about Kaepernick around the time Netflix released the special titled Colin in Black and White. Tafoya and The View host Sonny Hostin clashed on the show about some comments Kaepernick had made, comparing the NFL's draft and training camps to slavery. Tafoya argued that playing in the NFL was an act of free will. Absolutely. Quote, nobody pressures them. They're not forced to go into the NFL. Later, she added, I thought comparing it to the slave trade was a little rough. These guys enter willingly. They are the most cared for people. Yes, they play a hard sport. Every one of them, black, white, Latino, whoever's playing the sport, will tell you how much they love it, and they're willing to do it, and they make a damn good living. Hostin countered that most NFL owners are white men and most players are black. Quote, that comparison that makes slave owners and slaves is not sort of totally unreasonable or out of bounds. Sure it is. It's absurd. She asserted that it was the league's white owners who were preventing Kaepernick from continuing his NFL career after 2016 when he launched pregame kneeling protest of racial injustice during the playing of the national anthem. After the 2016 season, Kaepernick exercised an opt-out clause in his contract with the 49ers, became a free agent. No NFL team signed him afterwards. Hostin also argued that Kaepernick, quote, lost everything by taking a stand on a cause that he believed in, but Tafoya countered by noting Kaepernick had actually, quote, gained a lot since leaving the NFL, including a Netflix special and a lucrative deal with sports apparel company Nike. It talks about the fact that Catherine Tappan is now the top candidate to replace Tafoya. NBC has not officially commented, and Tafoya could not be reached. The New York Post tried to get to her. So, conveniently, as we talked about yesterday, Michele Tafoya goes on The View. She decides to push back against the narrative, a false narrative, by the way. Okay? I've said it. I was a 49ers fan, still am. I watched every snap Kaepernick ever took. Kaepernick, at best, was a mediocre quarterback, a bottom third of the league quarterback. And much like Tim Tebow, owners asked themselves, do we want the headache of Colin Kaepernick versus the production? Plain and simple, if Colin Kaepernick played like Aaron Rodgers or like Tom Brady, or before somebody makes this racial, like Lamar Jackson, he would have never been out of the league. But the fact is, the owners weighed the fact that Kaepernick just wasn't that good. And he wasn't. He wasn't that good. And then he did not have a job. Why? Not because he knelt for the anthem. Because of performance. Plain and simple. Because of performance. When you don't perform in the NFL, you don't work. Plain and simple. And then when he had an NFL tryout, he moved the tryout. And word has it, all of a sudden, it went around the league that Kaepernick led the owners, general managers, and everybody else, the scouts, on a wild goose chase to find out where he was having his tryout at. And then after the fact, wanted to act like it was some kind of social justice issue. No, it was a Colin Kaepernick issue. Michele Tafoya said it's absurd that he's comparing this to slavery. These guys make a choice. Guys like Henry Ruggs are afforded the right to go buy whatever kind of souped-up Corvette so he could go out there and have a DWI and somebody loses their life. Now, that's neither here nor there, but you get the point. They're afforded extreme luxuries. They make a lot of money. To compare the two is absolutely absurd, and it's offensive to black people when you compare it to slavery. Michele Tafoya just made a valid point, and now it looks like, at least in today's terms, she may have just became Gina Carano because they may have just canceled her for those comments. Michele Tafoya, probably the best in the business on the sidelines in the NFL, has been for at least a decade, maybe longer. Looks like she will no longer have that gig. They're not saying exactly what happened, but it's awfully convenient, and this is what happens when people get canceled. She's being shifted to something else and or out. It's absolutely absurd. If you've got a conservative voice, you're part of entertainment, you're part of the public, you're part of the media. Odds are now they're going to erase you. Repugnant. We don't know if it was NBC. We don't know if it was the NFL. But you can't make factual comments anymore. You can't even give an opinion and now get run out. A member of the media cannot give a lucid, valid opinion without being trapdoored. Wow. dangerous times we live in these days. Tell me what you think, black and white sports fans. Seems that Bill Simmons wasn't too out of bounds. Something serious happened here. It's repugnant. Peace. I'm out till next.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.